Welcome back to the channel, folks. Thanks for joining me again this week. For those new to the channel that haven't subscribed, please do hit that notification bell so that you can get notified every time I upload a new video. I try to do that at least once a week. If you like the video you see today, please hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know how I'm doing. That helps me get feedback on how I'm doing and make changes to the channel that better suit those that are actually watching it. This week is 4th of July week here in the United States, and that means barbecues and fireworks. So this week on the channel we're going to talk about fireworks. I got a couple of tips and tricks that'll help make it just a little bit easier to shoot fireworks this weekend out at a public show, a private show, or just in your own front yard. So why don't we get on back up to the studio and get started. With the proper planning, right tools, and a little patience, photographing fireworks can be fun and exciting. The bright colors and abstract shapes are all very eye-catching and enjoyable to look at. As with anything photography related, I always recommend trying to arrive to your spot a little early. This allows you to get set up and not be rushed. It allows you to find a good place to view and photograph the fireworks display that you're going to be seeing. Knowing where they will be set off from always helps. The best fireworks photos are longer exposures than you can do handheld, so a tripod is a must. I also recommend using a remote control, something that is wireless. This will allow you to trip the shutter without touching the camera. It also lets you enjoy the show a little more because you are not stuck to the viewfinder. Once the show starts, take a moment to get a good idea of how long it takes the larger displays to go from the ground to the main explosion up in the sky. This is also a good time to check to make sure that your composition is not cutting off the tops of the major explosions. I have found that for shooting fireworks, the best shutter speeds are anywhere from 2 to 8 seconds, depending on how high in the sky the larger explosions are, or how long it takes them to get there. I try to keep my ISO between 200 and 400. Increasing the ISO just a little bit increases the sensitivity of the sensor, which will allow it to pick up all of the little bright colors of the firework displays. I don't shoot fireworks wide open when I'm using a lens that has a large aperture, like f2.8 or even larger. I actually shoot most fireworks from f4 to f8, adjusting the aperture to control exposure, and leaving my shutter speed and ISO constant. Remember, these are great big flashes of light in the dark sky. We don't want them to completely blow out the highlights and lose all of those great colors. And now I want to walk through the basic editing process that I do for all of my fireworks photographs. I only do my edits in Lightroom for these. I don't take them into Photoshop and do a whole lot of extra stuff. Sometimes if I'm shooting a scene that has enough variety of locations for the fireworks, I will blend those together, but that gets pretty tricky, especially as the sky gets darker as the night goes on. It gets really hard to blend the images together, and it doesn't always look real good. But this is just a simple image that was a single shot of fireworks. It's not a multiple explosion. Well, it is a multiple explosion. As you can see, there's 3 different colors in this explosion, but it's not multiple detonations of multiple fireworks that I'm trying to edit together. So this is just going to be a walkthrough of one image and the basic edits. The first thing I do always is set my temperature, and I'm going to just kind of get this to a normal 3200 on the Kelvin, and I'm going to increase my tint just a little bit. As you can see, this one was shot at f5.6 at ISO 800 at 12 millimeters and for 3.2 seconds. It was pretty dark that evening, There was one street light on that you can see there. But at f5.6 for this particular lens, I needed to brighten these up a little bit. So I'm increasing my exposure by 1 full stop. I'm increasing my contrast by 25. This is the next big one, and that's the highlights. Earlier I talked about making sure that you don't blow out your highlights. You can see that if I check my clipped, I'm just a little clipped on my original exposure. So this is going to require a lot more highlight recovery. But because I know that the Sony sensor can recover those, I get all that color back. Look at the huge difference that made. Bright white and overexposed, but being able to recover those highlights is key to making this image work. I'm increasing the shadows so that I can see a little bit more of the context where I'm at. This is a private show that we happen to get invited to every year. A gentleman puts this on out at the golf course. It's a great show, and he's nice enough to let people come out and enjoy it with him. I decrease the whites just a little bit again to dull down the brightness of that explosion in the sky. I leave the black point alone. I leave the texture alone. I will add just a little bit of clarity. As I've discussed before in my editing videos, everything is small steps. There's no great big one button fixes everything. A little bit of dehaze, a little bit of vibrance, and just a little bit of saturation. And that takes us to the final edited image. I think this was a bug or something that was flying around and landing on my lens. So we'll take out that little spot. And that's pretty much the final edited image. Just some simple edits make a huge difference on the presentation of your fireworks images. Well, I hope you find that helpful and that it helps you when you're out shooting fireworks this weekend. Until next week, may the good light find you.